made you think of setting a poster up as an assignment for academic skills?
Well, it had to be a written assignment because we'd already had a practical, and I knew that the students had other essays and things to do. So I wanted to sort of mix it up a bit, make it a little bit more fun, have a little bit of a, to be able to perhaps throw themselves into it a bit. So I decided to go for a poster with a scenario that would be classed as a written piece of coursework, but it wasn't the usual just sitting down and just sort of pounding out an essay. It was would be in sections so that they could think about it and think about themselves presenting this poster at a particular event.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, isn't it? It's about only if you take risks, you can develop your skills. So this is a real mix of a bit of risk in terms of trying to do a poster, but also doing your 800-word write-up as well.
Yeah, and pretty much like the practical presentations, a poster is something that students would possibly be asked to do in their professional life and at work later on. Plus, it will undoubtedly be required as at least one, if not more, assignments in their future studying for their degree.
Okay, so can you give our students like the 3 biggest tips for doing a very successful poster?
I have actually produced a list of tips. There's more than 3. There's part of it is about writing, and part of it is about referencing. So I have many tips. I think if I was to think about the most important tip is that they must consider all their assignments, whether they're written, practical, whether they're posters, essays, whatever they are, that they are academic assignments where they're being graded. And what we're always looking for is a demonstration by them, the students, of how widely they've read on the topic, regardless of what the assignment is asking you to do, that you will always need to be using appropriate academic reference sources to demonstrate that you have read previous research on the topic. So my first tip would most certainly be demonstrate that you've read widely, that you are treating it like an academic piece of work, and by referencing appropriate sources.
Perfect. So really the main message is you've got to do the reading, and you've got to do the reading of the right sources.
Yes. That was quite a mixed one because it was talking about referencing as well as demonstrating wide reading. So let's call that 2.
Yeah.
My third tip then would be always leave time to proofread it. Because so much can be picked up in proofreading, and make sure that you're seeing that you don't miss stuff. We can all sort of sit in a room with a tear in the wallpaper that eventually you don't notice after a while. So if you've been proofreading it as you go along, what I'm talking about is proofreading at the end before you submit it. So if you're no longer seeing the tear in the wallpaper within your work, then get somebody else to read it to you so that you can hear them. And that person should be able to read it so that how anybody would pick it up and read it. And that person should be able to understand what you're talking about. And they shouldn't have to be saying to you, what do you mean by this? They shouldn't be reading between the lines, having to read between the lines, because they can't read between the lines because you're not there.
Yeah, that's a great tip when you're proofreading, to also look at its accessibility and to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
So that gives you a clear idea of whether you're actually getting your ideas across.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
brilliant.
the reason for this is because the sort of golden mantra that is often said is that when you're writing for the intelligent but ill-informed reader. And that person, so don't assume that the reader knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, because that person, that intelligent but ill-informed reader, doesn't have to be somebody that's already at university or been through university. It's just somebody that can read and understand stuff. And that I used to get a friend of mine who had never been to university, but she was, you know, intelligent, and I used to get her to read all my work before I submitted it, and she knew nothing about criminology at all. So, you know, an aunt.
How many times did she come back to you asking, you know, what do you mean by this? I don't understand. Did you get that a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they might not understand some of the criminological words or some of the names or know who you're talking about, but it should be written in such a way that somebody can pick it up and read it and understand what you're talking about, because you've explained it properly.
And it gets better and better, isn't it? When you do this exercise a few times, then you start picking up your tendencies that doesn't make your work accessible. So you're able to then self-correct.
And I find myself saying to students frequently when I've had conversations with them about their work, that that it's a learning process all the way through, and basically that they will improve, and they won't know what they're actually going to do until they do it. Or how they've interpreted what you've told them, or how much they've listened to until they do it.
Okay, so to sum up, your 3 big tips will be, first of all, read widely, appropriately, so you've got the right academic sources.
Yes.
The second one is that you actually reference them in the academic convention.
Yeah.
And the third one is that you proofread with a fresh mind and make sure that your work is accessible to that very intelligent, uninformed reader about the subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the students get stuck, and you know, we all know if you're doing something for the first time, you're going to get stuck somewhere or the other, what would you suggest?
They email me. Or they email someone.
What about Canvas? Getting back and look at Canvas material as well, isn't it?
I mean, I'll take that back. No, they don't email me. If it's a question that they can find the answer to on Canvas. You're absolutely right. If they need to look on Canvas first, all right? I get asked questions all the time. We all do. Can you tell me when the due date is? Can you tell me this? When we know it's all on Canvas, it's so easy, and I've seen it happen year after year. I saw it with my own daughter studying last year, that it's so easy to forget that, oh yeah, we should go back to, you know, that week. We should go back to that week because that's when it was covered. So
I mean, I do that myself. Like yesterday, I knew that. I mean, I do that myself all the time as well. I know there's some sort of computer help on Ask Hearts, but then I went and emailed IT support, and then he came back to me with a link saying, "This is the link for setting this up."
Yeah.
No, that's the point.
We all do it. You know, I've done it myself, but essentially, a lot of the information, but nearly all the information that you need to know is on Canvas somewhere, because we've either covered it or we've provided it as an addition to, you know, like the assignment brief would be an addition.
Yeah.
The topic would have been covered, and we will not ask you to do anything that we haven't already covered. So do have a look on Canvas.
Thanks so much, Sue, for this.
It's all right.
I look forward to the next edition of talking to you about another issue.
And I look forward to being embarrassed when this is played in class.